gonna be so hyped at the end of this video. Hey y'all, it's your girl Haley. I'm the girl behind Brewing Happiness, which is a health and happiness website with recipes dedicated to all definitions of health. Today we are making a lot of coffee things, but not just coffee things. Today we're gonna be making some dirty chai lattes in about 5 different methods. I'm gonna show you all of the best ways to make a dirty chai at home in ways that aren't extremely expensive, like having your own espresso machine. Today I'm partnering with Simply Organic. They have these new amazing pre-brew coffee spices. They're just spices that you can put in with your coffee grinds no matter what method you're making, and it adds flavor and spice to your coffee. We're not going to be adding syrups or anything to make this chai flavoring. It's all just these natural spices in there. It's a really delicious way to make your coffee, to like up your coffee game at home. And it smells incredible. It's gonna taste incredible. If you saw recently, I made a video for an awakened spice latte, also with these spices. I'll link to that in the comment section below so you can check it out if you want to see a different spice blend. So we're just gonna start with the easiest method, and that is with our regular old coffee pot at home. I figure most of you have one of these at home, so we'll start with this and then we'll slowly get slightly more complicated, but not that much more complicated. I should start this off by saying I'm not a barista, I'm not a coffee expert, I'm a person who loves coffee. I think I make it well for how I like it at home. So some of these things are going to be different person to person. Don't come at me if this isn't the way you would do it and you feel like you're an expert. I'm just showing you the best way I think to make coffee at home. So you have your coffee maker. I'm going to make about 6 cups. So the first thing we need to do, obviously, you need a coffee filter. We'll throw this bad boy right up in here. And then from there, we're gonna grind our coffee. I like to grind whole beans because I think you get fresher tasting coffee. So that's my personal preference, but if you want to use pre-ground coffee, do it. I'm not gonna hold you back. I'm gonna use about 1/2 cup of coffee, of whole coffee beans. I usually just eyeball these measurements, but today I'm gonna try to get specific for you. So let's do 1/2 cup with about 6 cups of water. And in here, you wanna just make sure it's on a medium grind. Medium grind is great for your coffee maker. We'll make different grinds of coffee depending on what method of coffee we're making. All right, so hold for sound. All right, that's pretty good. This is medium coarse, which is good for me. So we'll open this up and then just dump our coffee beans right in there. And that's the benefit to using a coffee grinder as opposed to buying ground coffee, is you can customize the coarseness of it as you're doing it, so you can do different methods of making coffee. I should also say that these are just regular coffee beans. You can kind of get whatever you like, whatever blend you like. This method will work for all of them. So that's your choice, dealer's choice. All right, now we're gonna add our pre-brew coffee spices. So for this method, I'm gonna add about a teaspoon to 1.5 teaspoons of these pre-brew coffee spices, the chai blend. So this is kind of like a heaping teaspoon. I'm gonna do 1.5 teaspoons, a heaping 1.5 teaspoons. Could be 2 teaspoons if you wanted to. Okay, so now we add our water just to the back of the coffee pot. And we brew it. I'm gonna let this blend for a little bit and we'll move on to talking about the milk part of this latte. I'm using a non-dairy barista blend. You could use regular whole milk and it will froth very well. Non-dairy barista blends are a little bit more temperamental. You have to find a brand and a selection that you like. The one that I have today is fine when it comes to frothing. It's not gonna be like a whole milk latte or something like that. What I have to do is take some of this barista blend, not a whole lot, I would say probably 1/4 cup. And I'm just gonna add that to my little milk frothing pitcher. You could also do this just in a mug or a cup or something like that. Great, that's plenty. So our coffee has just let us know that it's pretty much done. So I'm gonna take this mug and fill it up, and then we will add our nice foamy milk right up in here. So give me just a second. It's getting nice and frothy. Okay. Oh, this coffee smells so good. So we're just gonna pour about I'm gonna do it about 2/3 the way full, and then just pour it right on in. Ooh. And there you have it. So there is our first way of making a dirty chai at home. So now we're gonna move on to our second method, which is cold brew. So cold brew is essentially a method of making coffee in which you're going to grind up a bunch of coffee beans, put it in some water, let it sit in your refrigerator overnight, and it makes a really concentrated amount of or flavor of coffee, and then you take the coffee beans out, dilute it with water, and then you're good to go. What you need for this method, this is about 5 cups of water. You, again, need your chai spices. You need regular coffee beans. We're gonna use quite a bit of them, quite a lot of them, quite a bit, I don't know, both. We're gonna use a lot of coffee in this because you want a super concentrated amount in here. Coffee grinder if you're using whole beans, a cheesecloth, which is gonna sort of make a little filter pouch. Sort of think about it like tea. You're kind of filtering this coffee a little bit like you're steeping tea. And then a rubber band to close your cheesecloth pouch with. All right, so we're gonna measure, again, we have 5 cups of water, so we're gonna measure about a cup of coffee beans, whole bean coffee. And we're gonna grind that up in here pretty fine because you really want it to kind of like steep into that coffee. Let's do it. So right onto the cheesecloth, we're just gonna pour these coffee grinds. So just right into the center. And then we're gonna add a tablespoon of this. These pre-brew chai spices. And I like to add a good amount of the spices right in there. And then you just sort of pinch the corners towards each other and create just a little pouch like this. I probably could have used less cheesecloth, but you know, you win some, you lose most. Then you just kind of plunk it right in there. And then I'm just gonna transfer this straight to my refrigerator and let it sit overnight. And you can already see a little bit, it's starting to steep like tea. And then in the morning, when you're ready to drink it, or you know, whatever time you're ready to drink it, take this pouch out, and then you just fill the pitcher up the rest of the way with water, add about 4 or 5 more cups. At the end of this video, I'll show you a little bit more on how I would make the latte part of this, the milk part of this. But for now, we're just gonna put this in the refrigerator and move on to our next method. I make French press coffee every morning. This is my favorite. Well, this is my go-to method for making coffee. So let's get started. We're making a dirty chai. I'm gonna go ahead and start heating this water. We're just gonna heat it over medium heat. This thing makes a lot of alien noises, so I apologize. Second thing we're gonna do is we're gonna grind up our coffee beans. So for this French press, I like to use about 4 scoops. I find that 4 scoops is a little bit like 1/4 of a cup. But if you want a stronger cup of coffee, go for it, be my guest. Add more coffee beans. It's all up to you. All right, we're gonna make sure this is on course. And then we're gonna grind it. And then you just pour the beans straight into your French press pot. I'm now gonna add in our chai spices. So to this, I'm gonna add about a teaspoon, probably a heaping teaspoon actually, just straight into the pot. Okay, so this has gotten right to that range. I'll let it get to right into that middle of that 190, 210. This has a specific metering on it so you can see. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of this water and just gently pour it in just to the middle of the coffee beans. And then I'm gonna swirl it around a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit more water. You want kind of just enough water to touch all of the beans. And I'm gonna let this sit for about a minute. This is called blooming your coffee. For lack of more scientific terms, it helps to sort of wake up the beans. Now you just want to really gently pour water all the way over it, sort of in a circular motion. So you just do this all the way until it about reaches the band at the top. Here's one major tip for French presses is that you always want to use wooden utensils, like a wooden spoon. You could use a chopstick, something like that, to stir it. Because when you use metal utensils in a French press, especially at the end when you're done with your coffee and you're discarding the beans, if you're using a metal spoon to scoop out the beans, you're creating tiny little fractures in your French press that eventually will shatter it. I know this from experience, so don't do it. Learn from me. Use a wooden spoon and just give it a nice little stir. And then we will let this steep for about 4 minutes. I'm gonna set a timer on my phone. Set a timer for 4 minutes.
Your timer is set for 4 minutes.
Great. We're gonna let this sit for 4 minutes. That's the sound of our alarm. All right, so it's been 4 minutes and we're just going to flip this around to the aerated side or the side with holes in it and then just plunge it down. Great. So we're about ready to serve this, and you want to serve it pretty quickly because it will continue to brew because it's touching the coffee in here. So this frothy milk situation is a pretty easy hack just to do at home. So I have about a half cup of water. I have a heaping tablespoon or just spoonful of coconut butter and the same of almond butter. You could use any kind of nut butter. So we're just gonna stick our immersion blender right in here and create some noise and also hopefully some frothy milk kind of thing. So we did it. So you could do this in a regular blender or with an immersion blender. Now we're just gonna pour the French press in here. I'm just gonna fill it up about halfway or 2/3 of the way full and then add in our nice easy frothy milk. There you go, that's how you make a French press dirty chai latte. Next, let's move on to our Chemex, which is sort of like a pour over. First, I'm gonna drink some of this, let's be honest. This looks delicious. Ooh, it is. We're using our same measuring system for the temperature of the water. So you want it between 190 and 210. I'm gonna heat it in this over medium heat. So I'll go ahead and let that start heating up. And in the meantime, we're gonna grind our coffee beans to about a medium coarseness and put them right into this little paper filter. You can get these like either in a circle or this one is a foldable one. And you just want to put 3 sides of the paper to one side and 1 side of the paper to the back side. The 3 sides of the paper go towards this little spout, which is where you'll pour things out. So I'm gonna add about a third or a fourth a cup of coffee beans, depending on how potent I want the brew to be. Today I'll go for about a third a cup. Then we just grind it up. And then add the grinds just directly into this little filter pocket. For now, we're gonna add our chai spice to this. I'm gonna add just a teaspoon into here because it's only making 2 cups of coffee, so you don't need a ton. Just straight on into the filter. A lot of people before adding their beans and their spices will add water to the filter and to the pot so that it heats it all. It helps kind of prime the filter to let the coffee through. I don't do that. Ooh, this is ready. The one step I will do is to bloom the coffee. So you want to add the water just to the middle. I'm gonna let this sit for about 30 seconds to a minute before adding the rest of the water. And even when I do add the rest of the water, you want to do it pretty slowly. The whole point of a pour over is to add water just a little bit at a time, so it's sort of constantly filtering. So this is bloomed to me, and so now we're just gonna sort of pour water in a pretty steady stream in kind of like a circular spiral motion. So I usually just fill the filter about twice, very slowly, and then let it filter all the way through. So I'm gonna let this finish filtering through the second time. But for now, I'm gonna do a little bit of milk frothing in the meantime. Again, just getting lots of air bubbles. So you can remove this fully, or you can just pull it back just a little bit while you pour your coffee. Just gonna fill it up about halfway. And then top it off with some milk. Ooh, foamy. There you go, we got 4 ways down to make a dirty chai latte. We're gonna do our 5th way and then circle back to the cold brew. This is the way I made the awakened spice latte that I've linked to in the comments below. It is essentially a stovetop method for making espresso. A Moka has 3 sections, the bottom part where the water goes. You fill the water just right up to this little metal knob. And then it has the middle part, which is the filter funnel, where you'll add your coffee and your chai spices, and then the top where the espresso will come out. So you get espresso beans, which are just any kind of espresso beans you like. We're gonna grind them really fine. You want to add about 1/4 a cup. 1/4 the cup, I find, is what fits into these little Moka filters. And then you just grind it. Okay, so the water is already in the bottom of here, and I'm gonna actually add the chai spices first. I'm gonna add just about 1/2 teaspoon into the bottom of this. Sometimes I like to use a spoon or a tablespoon to do this. It just makes it a little bit less messy. And you can use the back of the spoon to tamp down your coffee beans. All right, once that's all in there, and then you just screw on the top here, just right onto the bottom. From here, transfer it to your stove and then heat it over medium heat. What will happen is the pressure of this will push through. The espresso will come out the top, and then we'll pour it in here and add a little bit of frothed milk. Just get it nice and bubbly. All right, so just pour the espresso right in. Beautiful. And then we're gonna top it with our foamed milk. I love Moka espresso. It's such an easy way to make espresso. And it's delicious. And now we're gonna circle back to our cold brew for one final little coffee drink. And that's that, y'all. So I put about 1/2 cup of the cold brew into this carafe, pitcher, container. And then again, I added a heaping tablespoon of coconut butter and a heaping tablespoon of almond butter. And I'm just gonna make the latte right in here and then pour it into my cup. Great. So you could serve this over ice, or you could serve it just as is. And then we'll just pour it straight in our cup. Ooh, such a pretty color, so creamy. And then that's it. That's your final way to make a dirty chai latte. I hope you enjoyed this video. There will be more like it in the future soon. Maybe not coffee videos, but videos of this style, longer videos where I talk you through recipes a little bit more. So let me know if you like this style. I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and I'll be seeing you soon. Bye! Were these even words the whole time?